Good evening. You're on the smoking section, and I'm very happy to have my good friend and colleague, Paul Neff, to be on the show. Paul, what's your middle name? S, is it?
Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
Oh, you want to leave it at that?
Yeah.
You're going to play your cards close to your chest this evening.
Yeah, in that
particular
case, yeah.
regard. Okay. And Paul is on tonight. He has graciously, at short notice, agreed to be on the show. Paul, you wanted to talk about a particular idea you had.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, I have some kind of late-breaking news that I hope, not earth-shaking, but that I hope maybe Emily might put on Cambridge Citizens for Smokers' Rights Facebook page. It seems that according to Michael Volpe, that Ginger Baker went home to his house, and there were a couple of guys robbing it.
Yeah.
And according to what Michael says, as he really beat them up pretty badly.
Uh-huh.
Now, I mean, Ginger Baker is 75 years old.
Very intense guy, too.
Is he really?
Yeah. Strong opinions.
Yeah, I know that.
Strongly put.
I think I saw Ginger Baker play here in Cambridge.
Mm-hmm.
Who
was he playing with?
Night Stage. You know, I think he was playing with some lead guitarist who was from Sweden or something like that. Mm-hmm. And before the show even started, he said, "Now let's get one thing straight: we're no Cream songs."
Uh-huh.
And then,
well, yeah, he's contrary and can be violent.
Can be violent.
Yeah.
He's not a big guy, is he?
No, but he's wiry.
Diminutive.
He's wiry. Well, he has conviction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that. Well, I mean, I guess all drummers are kind of violent, perhaps, maybe, because it's kind of
Yeah,
a
I've heard that
instrument.
the drummers are crazy.
Well,
you know, from my experience, this guy we knew. Yeah. Also, Paul Thompson with Roxy Music, who used to dress in a Fred Flintstone.
Oh, is that right?
Like a toga thing.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well,
and that was the look that he had.
And then, according to this story, Ginger Baker took a smoke break.
Yeah.
Went out and had a cigarette, or didn't go out, had a cigarette.
Yeah.
And then went back and started beating these guys up again.
Uh-huh.
And Ginger Baker, according to Mike Volpe, said that they're lucky that it wasn't 10 years before, because he would have killed both of them. Well, I mean, he has a smoke break. He's 75 years old.
Yeah.
And evidently, presumably, these guys are a lot younger than he is, and there are two of them, and he's able to kick their ass, I guess.
And he's very composed throughout.
Well, I don't know. I hope
like...
I hope maybe we see it on Cambridge Citizens for Smokers' Rights Facebook page, because it might be something that is post-worthy.
It would be great if it had been filmed.
Well, yeah, that I think is unlikely.
Yeah.
That is unlikely. But I don't know. I mean, it depends how into violence you are and how violent Ginger was. I mean, I don't know. It just sounds strange. I mean,
I guess he's probably alone with the two guys, the four guys. I mean.
Well, the two guys and him. Period.
Okay.
And he supposedly beat up two guys. Now, Paul, we did decent tabling today. Not great. We got that fellow named McLeod, who seems very eager to actually participate in Cambridge Citizens for Smokers' Rights. Do you remember the guy I'm talking about?
Not sure.
Well, he had a very good appearance, and
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Seemed a little bit like ex-military or something.
Yeah.
In fact, he was talking about the military and the smoking restrictions.
Right. I remember him.
And I have his email, so we can reach out, as they say. Reach out.
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing I want to post on Craigslist.
On Craigslist
is going to be asking for idea people, because like in an average crowd, there aren't that many.
Visionaries.
So I want to reach out to people that would like to work with other people, really trying to devise the best strategy to get this message of ending the war on smoking out to a lot of people, because I think it would appeal to a lot of people.
Yes.
I just don't. I don't think the majority of the public has any interest in pursuing it.
Well, your idea of this phrase, ending the war on smoking, is good because everybody is so anxious to end the war on drugs, or certainly a huge percentage of the American population.
Yeah, as many drugs as possible. Or
Well, I'm not talking about ending the war on drugs. I'm just
Yeah.
talking about ending the war on smoking.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that there are a lot of people who are interested in ending the war on drugs, but they don't seem to. Ending the war on smoking would be something they might also go for.
Yeah, I think one part of the problem is that when you lose the right to do something like smoking, which most people are ambivalent about,
Yes,
rather than
in terms
pro
of
or
the-
con. It's not a pro or con kind of thing, but it seems indispensable, or the efforts to eradicate it would be far more successful by now.
Right.
For instance, the fact that there are college students to ban from smoking at this late stage shows the failure to win over a lot of people,
The
highly
entire-
intelligent people.
Right. Well, so yes, so we've got, I think we've established that before, that at the very least, the anti-smoking movement, with all of its power and its money and its, is way, way, way behind schedule, at the very least.
Yeah.
Because, again.
Well, I think they've gotten as far as they're ever going to.
Well, we'll see. Yeah, maybe. That's an interesting prediction. So you don't think it's going to get worse before it gets better?
Well, if it gets worse, that'll mean that we're moving into a really authoritarian age, which is not out of the question. That could happen.
So it could happen.
Yeah, we'd be. There'd be no two ways about it. It would be an authoritarian society, but that is possible in the near future.
Interestingly enough, there was a wiki it appears, and one of the WikiLeaks was a email from a doctor named Mark Hyman
Yeah.
to Hillary Clinton, where he talks, or he says, that the idea of individual responsibility has proven to be a failure.
Right.
So
I saw that.
I
think I shared it.
right, and so that seems pretty clear cut. In fact, he said something about there should be a health corps, like a Peace Corps.
So yeah. So I guess if these people win, I mean, their thinking is clearly authoritarian, and if they have their way, I guess it is possible. But I mean, we have to get ordinary people to put up a fight, because ordinary people are not with it.
Well, as we both know,
Of course, it's hard to stay out of politics, isn't it?
well, you mean in terms of tonight's
To isolate
discussion?
this issue from politics and just general.
When you say this
political
issue, which
philosophy.
issue are you talking about?
Freedom to smoke.
Oh, the freedom to smoke.
Yeah.
Well,
We do know, like, we've presented our arguments at City Hall, and it's clear that they've got their orders from a central source not to consider our argument.
Well, they certainly. Okay, 1 second, Paul. We
They-
seem to have some technical difficulty. I don't know what's going on. Well, we were able to persuade.
I think what persuaded them, like I say, was the numbers of us.
Right.
And the groups, the mental health groups.
Right.
And the other thing which no one else seems to remember, the Moms Against Nukes on hair
Right.
trigger.
There were a few people. Yeah, and I think, for example,
They didn't require any convincing. They spoke as if they were already.
Right. So we were able to persuade our city council using the very normal types of lobbying tactics that are used to do anything, to affect any political change. I mean, that's what you have to do.
I was surprised, over the past, how many years has it been? 14. 14 years I've been involved in this. And I've constantly been surprised at how unwilling to debate anybody is, whether we meet them privately,
Right.
outside.
Right, but
whatever.
we don't need to. We can win without debating.
Right, that's.
If we organize enough people.
So yeah, what I believe is we should aim our campaign exclusively at the people, and it should be very plain language, using advertising techniques, whatever is available, and the talents of people that have talents I don't have.
Yeah. And sure, I agree with you 100%.
I mean, I can write pretty well, and I think I've got some pretty good concepts as far as broadening the appeal.
But I think ending the war on smoking is a very good phrase that I think can.
And let's end it. Let's, it's kind of brings people in.
But yes, I think. But I mean, I think the only reason, for example, like the bar smoking ban passed the city council in, I don't know, 2003, whatever, is because, well, I mean, I think if more bar owners, and I think if more members of the public had come out and, lobbied, then I don't think it would have passed. I think we would have been able to persuade the city council not to do it. But, there weren't.
But a lot of people turned out at the public housing hearings. And
That's right.
They're very, very determined to pass it. And
Right.
just as determined as the media have been to make Trump look bad.
Well, not enough people turned out to overwhelm, and that's what we needed. And
At the first thing, at
well,
the initial ban and the bars.
I'm talking about the bars, for example.
Yeah,
But
but public housing people.
we had a very good turnout, but not good enough.
No, I think it was plenty good enough. I think
okay.
Look, most of the rooms are full of people, and the testimony against the ban
Was strong. Yes.
It was interminable.
Well,
The only people that were there to represent the pro-ban thinking
Right.
were paid activists, right?
that's right.
Well, I mean, that's a big thing.
Well, it's a big thing, but okay.
There were a lot of
Right.
people
Well, that's politics.
at most of the hearings, and they were determined not to listen.
Well, I don't know if they were determined not to listen. They didn't. We weren't able to win them over. We got a lot of concessions.
Are you suggesting our arguments were like not phrased well
No,
enough
they were
for
well.
them?
We just
Because
needed more people.
The city manager Rossi,
Now you're talking about something different. You're not.
Well, no, I'm just saying that their ability to phrase ideas is retarded.
Well,
it's
I'm not saying
defective.
their ability is worse or better. Let's say it's worse. You win a political fight by doing a lot of things, and one of those things is making good arguments. Another is mobilizing large numbers of people, and another, there are just a lot of ways, and we were able to do that with the park smoking ban.
And I think if we manage things well now, we have a good chance of making this a popular issue.
Yeah,
Because
certainly.
there's a new administration coming in. Because of these WikiLeaks, people are more familiar with the idea that an official narrative can be deliberately deceptive.
But I don't think that's anything new since the Vietnam War. I mean, the American population's been pretty skeptical.
It has come to a head right now.
All right. And that will give us some opportunity, and we will
and then
reach out to
then
people.
there's like these girls, like the one that we talked to yesterday, who rolls her own,
Right.
And totally does not look like a smoker.
Whatever a smoker looks like.
Right. And unlike people in the past who would always say, well, I'm in the process of trying to quit. These kids today, and older people too, the mood of today's is more about saying something positive about smokers.
And let's see.
It's a little bit defiant.
Right. And our challenge is to reach out to these kinds of people in a way that they, let's say, relate to.
Yeah.
And see if we can get them to use their creative powers, or even use their physical powers to, show up at public hearings.
Yeah.
And things of this
to
nature.
be part of the group, to supplement the
It would
group
be
that we have
wonderful.
now.
That's right. Right.
And to be proactive, because we don't know when the next initiative is going to be, but we do know that all these initiatives taken together are part of a long-range policy.
That's right. That we do know. We got a phone call. I hope. You're on the smoking section. We'll see if it's. You're on the smoking section.
Hello, I went to a cigarette cessation group the other day.
Yes.
It was smoking.
Well, you know, I think they're pretty lame, and most people are able to give up smoking without going to cessation groups.
You know, that's something I was thinking about recently.
Yes.
People I've known, I mean, while they're smoking, they're not regretful, or they're not doing anything but enjoying it. And then what I've seen is, next thing you know, they've quit.
I see.
You know, they don't do a lot of moaning and groaning, and when they do, I get really irritated.
You mean what kind of moaning and groaning?
I think people get sick of hearing about it after a while.
Hearing
how
about
they
what?
can't stop smoking.
Oh, really?
You know.
Yes.
And they don't. And
yeah, it's very tiresome. I agree with you about that. Very, very tiresome.
But I've known a number of people that, you know, that they were real smokers, and then they just decided to quit and did so.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not very. I mean, I had a little bit of an argument with Gabriella yesterday, and I mean, you know, it's not very hard to quit smoking. That, I mean, is establishable.
Right.
I mean, if you want to. I mean, there's no withdrawal symptoms. I mean, you get a little bit irritable for a couple of days. You might have difficulty concentrating, and you might crave a cigarette. But it's not like alcohol where you start getting the shakes, or it's not like heroin where you start writhing on the floor.
No.
Or it's not like coffee where you get bad headaches.
I don't think it's to be dismissed, though.
What's that?
What is called addiction. I just don't think it's physical addiction. I think it's more like addiction to something, a prop that's part of who a person is, who their self-image.
Right.
Physically and socially. And when it's not there, and when that little reward is not there, they miss it.
Right.
But I don't think it's even as bad as coffee, which, you know, times when I've had to stop everything for a period of, say, 10 days, including caffeine, I never got to the point where I felt I was getting close to losing the craving for caffeine.
Did you experience headaches from giving up coffee? That's the most common withdrawal symptom, I understand.
Well, you know, this was a place where they give you Librium too, so I was like,
right.
And big slippers, so I was falling out of my slippers. I felt like I was a wreck.
Like the wreck of the Hesperus, perhaps?
Yeah, and I really could have used a cup of coffee.
Right.
It would have cut it a little bit.
I know that I'm very dependent on coffee, and I like coffee.
It's a nice feeling.
Although I do make an effort to, as you say, you drink about 3 cups a day. I drink about 3 cups a day. Okay, well, do you have anything you want to say in terms of your ideas? You want to go on to Craigslist and reach out to younger people and people,
or middle-aged, just people who feel strongly that smoking should not be a moral issue or a legal issue or a divisive issue. You know, they know that the empirical grounds for it, the so-called research, is not sufficient.
Well, other than Craigslist and other than our Facebook page and other than tabling
In
and
person,
other than this television show, do you have other ideas?
Just being friendly, you know, and radiating commitment,
charisma.
Yeah.
All right, that sounds
being
good.
friendly with people. I don't think this is an issue you have to shove down people's throats. I think we just have to find a few phrases that say it all very tersely. Mm-hmm. And I think people will get it if enough of them hear it.
Right, yes.
Well, I think they're getting it anyways. Mm-hmm. Like I said, there wouldn't be, I don't know what percentage of college students smoke, but it's too high for the, isn't it like a third in some kind of colleges?
No. Well, I mean, I suppose you could find some college where it is a third, but I don't think it's...
Yeah, maybe it was a particular
It's
college.
certainly not a third in any college in Massachusetts that I know of.
Yeah, but anyways, it's,
You know...
we know that a significant, put it this way, intelligent or educated smokers haven't become notably scarce lately, as you would think they would have.
Right, right. And I just don't know. I don't know. Anyway, so we've been having people on just talking about what tobacco means to them aside from the political issues. Now, did you have anything more regarding your ideas about the political issues vis-a-vis smoking that you want to air on CCTV?
Well, I think that since it is so remarkable that smoking has remained popular
Yes.
since the war on it began and, has escalated consistently,
Right.
I think it deserves another look, exactly what the value of smoking is,
Good idea.
culturally or in other respects.
Or what it means to the individual. That's
Right,
kind
right.
of what.
I think there's been,
what does it
and I
mean
don't
to
know
you, for
why it
example?
is, but I mean, ever since I was a kid, this is not something people talk about. I think it's a convention. You don't want the kids to smoke. Even without the war, you don't tell them why you like it, and then it's sort of a rite of passage. They kind of find out for themselves, and then,
Well, I know that
you know what I'm saying? That's the way it
in the
works.
1930s, cigarettes were called coffin nails.
Right, right.
And then there's that favorite song by, who is it? Tex Ritter?
Williams.
No, no. What? Who? Tex Williams?
Smoke that cigarette?
Who did that song?
Tex Williams.
Oh, Tex Williams. Did he write it?
I'm not sure.
It
Might have been, no,
40s or 50s?
actually it was Merle Travis wrote it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And was it a hit? Was it a country hit?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's an awful song, but it's not, doesn't appeal to me. Let's put it that
My
way.
grandfather liked Tennessee Ernie Ford. And
Tennessee Ernie
Tex
Ford.
Williams.
Well, Tennessee Ernie Ford had a real hit.
Yeah,
16 tons.
yeah, I know.
That was a
know.
huge hit.
When we'd be over at my grandparents', I remember seeing a lot of guys dressed like multicolored cowboys. With all those weird designs on their suits.
You mean like
Country bands in the
yeah,
50s.
right. And
I'm pretty sure I saw Ray Price at their house,
Your grandfather lived where?
Newington, Connecticut.
Oh, so he lived in Connecticut also, and he was your father's father.
Yes.
And was he also into music or not?
Pretty mainstream, but he did like to go downstairs into his den and listen to, let's see, Nat King Cole.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, Nat King Cole is mainstream, right?
Yeah, yeah. He became mainstream, and that's the Nat King Cole that my grandfather liked. Would listen to stuff like Lazy Hazy.
Crazy Taste. That's an awful song, man. That's like if you can pick out one, Nat King Cole song to pick, I think that's the worst.
Yeah, it's not, yeah, right.
Because that was really
It's
like on the
Route
top
66.
charts.
He
But,
did Route 66.
did you ever hear that song Love by Nat King Cole?
No.
Oh, it's a really good song. Love.
I saw a movie where they play a song of his called This Is Worse Than the Blues, and it was real cool.
It's by Nat King Cole?
Yes.
Well, it's funny, we've talked about this before, but then again, everything we've talked about before, so why not? But, the interesting thing, and this is just from a phenomenological point of view, it's not good, bad, or indifferent.
All right.
But when I was a child,
Yeah.
and my sister was a child, we were just brought up in a very heavily smoking environment. Both my parents smoked.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume they smoked in the car. Mm-hmm. I remember my father used to blow smoke rings for us at the breakfast table.
Yeah.
And he was smoking non-filter cigarettes because at that time there were only non-filter cigarettes, and it was before filter cigarettes. We used to go to the opera, and I remember, like, in the intermission, you come out of the auditorium,
Yeah.
and I mean, so you would be into the lobby, and you could not even see. You couldn't see your hand in front
That
of you.
sounds like a Donovan concert that I was at.
You couldn't see your hand in front of your face. There was so much smoke, and I was, I'm talking about 5 and 6 years old.
Yeah.
And my sister, for example, my father used to play cards, and he had a friend who'd come over to the house named Murray Goldstein.
Yeah.
And Murray always smoked cigars.
Yeah.
And I remember him giving that little piece of paper that's on a cigar. It looks like a ring
Yeah.
to my sister.
Yeah.
Because it was a ring. So what my
That evokes nostalgia. in me,
Really?
too.
Well, what I bring up, though, is neither my sister nor I ever, said, oh my gosh, it's too smoky around here. I mean, or the smoke bothers you, or I'm in the car and it bothers you. Yet when you were a child, you did experience a certain annoyance by smoke.
I don't really.
You're not
On
gonna,
and off, I did. On and off. And I don't really credit it with much except neurosis.
no, your neurosis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
did you?
I mean, it could get overbearing. Smoke can get overbearing.
Well, no, it didn't. It never. We got my sister and I don't remember as a child ever feeling that the smoke was overbearing.
Well, actually,
neither
I
did my sister.
kind of like the smell of cigar smoke. Yeah.
But you did, and I just
I
wondered
kinda
why that
liked it.
is. And I have a friend named Gene Hush, and he used to be really anti-smoking. I think he's a little anti-smoking. I said to him, when you were a kid, did your parents smoking bother you? And he said no.
Right.
Well, actually, he said he didn't remember. But then I talked to his sister, and his sister said to him, "Well, Gene, if it had bothered you, you would have remembered."
See, our value as older people is we have a timeline, and we can make what the establishment would consider invidious comparisons to show, how things were, how things are now, and how they don't have to be the way they are now.
Anything is possible. This is America, right?
I wouldn't go that far. A lot of things are possible right now.
You think we're? Do you think we're in a dawn of a new age? You only got
Yeah,
6 seconds, Paul.
Yeah, I do.
Thanks
Yeah,
for
I do.
watching the show.
Yep.
Good night.
Good night.